Inside the spirit world. Ooh. Globally, there are 5 major types of alcoholic drinks. Now, in terms of number of bottles sold, beer is number 1 in the US. Then you have wine, spirits, cider, and mixed drinks like seltzers and cocktails. So what really is the difference? So I'm here at the bar, so I'm going to explain that to you. Typically, it comes down to number 1, the food used to produce the alcohol, and number 2, how you make it. Beer is made from cereal grains like barley or wheat. Wine is made from grapes. Cider is made from apples. Spirits, also known as liquor, are a little bit like wine but with a much higher alcoholic content. Now, spirits can be made from grains or grapes. Wine has an alcoholic content of about 10 to 15%. Spirits have a content of 40, maybe possibly up to even 90%. Now, the reason why is because of how spirits are made. If you may have heard that wine and beer goes through a fermentation process. Now, fermentation is what happens when yeast eats the sugar in the grapes to create alcohol. Now, spirits go through the same process, but with one additional step: distillation. It's physics. Alcohol boils faster than water, and distillation turns the alcohol into vapor. That's it. So the vapor is collected in the tube, and then they use cold temperatures to force that vapor to condense back into a liquid. Therefore, it's called a spirit. Ooh. Now, we know why it's called a spirit, because it's like popping a genie out of the bottle and putting it right back. Now, Emperador is a player in the spirit segment. Actually, there are about 6 main types of spirits. There's vodka, there's brandy, there's tequila, there's whiskey, there's gin, and there's rum. Now, of course, I've not listed all of them, but these are the main ones. Again, the difference is in the ingredients and the process. For example, vodka is made from potatoes or grains, but it's also made from other things like grapes and beets. Now, the difference is that vodka is distilled more than once, and the result, if you've seen vodka before, compared to other spirits, is that vodka is closer to just ethanol and water. It's very clear. That's why vodka is said to be like water, flavorless, colorless, and transparent. Now, brandy is made from fruit, traditional grapes, but other fruits like apples can also be used as well. In fact, brandy tastes like a certain type of wine. Rum is made from sugarcane, tequila is made from agave plants, and whiskey is made from dried malted grains. Like whiskey, gin is also made from grains, barley, corn, and so on and so forth. But the difference is the mashup of the grains used. Now, gin is flavored using juniper berries, and whiskey is flavored by aging it in charred oak barrels. Now, we know what are the different drinks. Now you can go out and try them all, but stay safe. But Alvin, why does Emperador need to buy all these companies? Why can't it just stick to making Emperador brandy in the Philippines? It boils down to 2 words: marketing and competition. Remember, selling drinks is basically selling water with something extra. When you have a bigger revenue base, you have a bigger marketing budget. You can buy the biggest signboards and television space. In fact, one of the biggest advertising battles is the one between 2 of the world's biggest drinks companies, Pepsi and Coca-Cola. In 1975, Coca-Cola spent $25 million on ads and PepsiCo $18 million. After Pepsi got a new CEO in 1974, he spent heavily on marketing. By 1985, Coca-Cola was spending $72 million while Pepsi was spending $57 million. Both companies' market share rose from 12% in 1975 to 22% in 1985. By the 1990s, Pepsi was spending more than $110 million on ads a year. Now, the interesting thing here is that the more they spend, the bigger the market share. Coca-Cola and Pepsi share in the US market went from 12% in 1975 to over 60% in the 1990s. The lesson learned from this is that in this industry, there's been a direct link between ad spend and market share. Basically, the more you spend, the more you get. In order to have the money to spend, you need to have a larger revenue base. Also, by acquiring brands, consumer product groups prevent having to get into costly marketing battles with each other. If one brand starts hurting another brand, a company can shut down that brand. The other reason is that land and access to resources are getting scarce. You may have seen some of the news about this recently. Now, a bunch of researchers did a study on drink companies expanding, and this is what they found. Companies are now aware that the very supply chains that they rely on are now in jeopardy as competition for fertile land and clean water increases. The researchers have also a theory that the larger size of these companies gives them leverage. You get better ability to lobby governments, demand regulatory protections, or even better treatment. You can say that you're providing many employment opportunities and contributing to a larger investment opportunity and even paying bigger taxes. When you're bigger, you have a bigger voice, so there's a higher chance of getting what you want. Chapter 4, Growing the Empire. So how is Emperador going on about all of this? According to the Institute of Alcohol Studies, there are 3 main ways that alcohol drink makers are expanding. Number 1, targeting new customers by selling in more and different markets, mainly low and middle income countries, either by selling affordable drinks to the mass market or by taking premium Western brands and targeting middle class customers as aspirational status symbols. Number 2, increase volume of consumption, which means make people drink more. Number 3, getting consumers to trade up to more expensive drinks. In the UK, the share of premium beer has gone from 31% in 2000 to 49% in 2018. At the same time, in the US, super premium spirits grew at 7% per annum from 2010 to 2019. For normal premium spirits, it's 2%, and for value, it's 0. This is exactly what Emperador aims to do. Premiumize the portfolio. Introduce the higher-end products in the Philippines, like Fantolidor Supremo, which costs USD $230, compared to the Emperador Trasepas and Fantolidor Light, which costs anywhere between $220 to $6 US. The good news for Emperador is that the Philippines economy is now growing pretty fast. The poverty rate is now 23.7% compared to 60% when Emperador was first launched. According to the OECD, the Philippines is now the fastest growing economy in ASEAN. Emperador says they believe that the Philippines 5 years from now will be very different. According to the company, Emperador's premiumization effort will be focused on the whiskey business. Compared to brandy, whiskey is big in developed markets. For example, whiskey's market share in the US is about 25% or 4 times that of brandy. Internationalize the business. Emperador is targeting 50% of its sales and profits outside of Philippines by the year 2025. The company now makes 65% of its earnings from the Philippines. For perspective, the price of Emperador Light in the Philippines, $3 US. Price of Emperador Light in the US, $16 to $18 US. Now, Emperador also has planned to expand into other Asian countries. Many major alcohol businesses are now targeting Asia as well. Take Diageo, for example, which is the 3rd biggest alcoholic beverage company, market cap in excess of $100 billion US. Diageo made just 7% of its revenue in 2000 from Asia Pacific. By 2019, it was making 21%. That's 3 times more than what they were making in year 2000. Diageo is now investing heavily in China and expanding its business, building its first whiskey distillery in China. Can you imagine that? Now, don't forget, we're now living in the Asian century, where Asia is now overtaking the West in terms of economic size. The same reason why Singapore's Grab or China's Alibaba listed in the USA, Singapore has a bigger market of investors. Now, the Singapore market cap is currently $650 billion US compared to the Philippines, where it's only $233 billion. That's a nearly 3 times size in difference. Singapore is gaining a reputation for being a capital hub, especially in Asia. I hope this gives you an idea of where Emperador is, its plans, and where it's headed. Do you think Emperador will succeed? Or do you think Emperador is worth looking at? Or will Emperador be swallowed by other huge drink companies? Let me know in your comments. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button.